I started with Rob Withers when I was a college kid. Between my freshman year and sophomore year, the team I played with had long gone because everybody went away to school. And my mom found a club for me to play with, and it was Rob's team. I went to the first practice and really wasn't too impressed because everybody was so much older than I was. I felt, I wanted to be with a younger group. So I left the practice thinking, now I need to try to go find somewhere where I can train and play and be more fit to go back to college my sophomore year and have a good season. That Sunday morning, my phone rang and it was Rob, and he said that they have a game in Frankfurt and he'd like me to play. So I went, and when they put me in, at the time Stan, his father, was coaching, who was a brilliant coach himself. And I made a run right through the middle of the field, and Larrabee, one of the very, very strong players, crossed the ball so hard it hit me in the back of the head and went straight in the net. And everybody told me how great of a goal it was. A little bit later, a cross came in from the other side, harder, and hit me on the front of my head, and that one also went in. And the last cross came in and hit me in the knee, and also went in. And they took me out. I had a hat trick my first game ever with the Wings, and Rob's like, we need to take you out before they hurt you.
I met Rob in the late 70s. I met him because I used to coach a team from Chicago Heights, OTYA, was a soccer club, and we played a lot of games against the Wings, which he was part of, which he was a founder of the Wings. Got a lot of great memories about Rob. He was a man's man, a guy's guy, and he loved the game of soccer, and that's what made me be attracted to him, because he had so much passion like I had. I just came from Italy at that time, in the early 70s, in the middle 70s. So when I met him, he got me a big impression about this guy that loved the game like I did. And one of the things that really stuck up to me, we played against each other, and one of the players, without names, threw himself in the box, and the referee called for a penalty. And he looked at me and looked at him, and he kind of shook his head. Next thing you know, that kid, I didn't see him play for the whole rest of the game. So he was a guy that he loved the game, but he wanted to be fair. The game was about playing it and not cheating, and leave everything on the field. That's what he believed, and that's what I believe. That's what made me attracted to him.
I probably started with the Wings in 1978 or 79. That's well over 30 years, so it's hard to remember. Not only did Rob have a kids league, but he had an adult league. And me as a player, I strolled into Park Forest one day, being from the area. I found out they had an adult league, so I asked if I could play, and I got on the team from there. He was the coach. I played with the Wings, and it was pretty good. Rob was a good coach. His father was around on and off through the years, who was an excellent coach and an excellent player. The biggest thing for me, aside from kids, was that I had a chance to play again. And I'm still playing today. But as time went on, Rob got me involved in the coaching for the children.
I first met Rob Withers in 1977 when I was through with my college career, and I was working at Xerox as a quality control inspector, and I was looking for a men's league to play, and somebody had told me that there was a gentleman in Park Forest who had a men's program, and I called him on the phone, and I introduced myself, and I said, I'm looking for a men's team, and he said, we're always looking for men's players. And it happened to be in the winter, so I got to play indoor with them, and the funny part about it was the first indoor game I ever played with them was at the gym at Rich East High School. And played with them for quite a while, played probably through 1985 with the men's Wings, which would be anybody 18 and over, was an open league. We were very good. And in 1980, I was still at Xerox, and Mr. Withers called me on the phone 1 week before school was supposed to start, and he said, are you ever going to use your teaching career? And I said, well, I'd like to, but there's just no jobs available. And he said, well, the funny part about it is that there's a baseball, soccer, math teacher coaching position, teaching position open at Rich Township. And I have an interview for you tomorrow. So I called my boss at Xerox and told him I was taking the day off, and I went for the interview, and I got hired that day. and I stayed at Rich East from 1980 till I retired in 2010.
I knew Rob for over 30 years. I met Rob when my son started playing soccer and he was 5 turning 6, and that's been a long time ago. Well, Rob and I went to England together several years ago now, and we went and we stayed with one of his friends that he'd gone to school with at St. Martin's in the Fields, and we were sleeping in his living room. And every day we would go to a museum in the morning, and then would go to a pub for lunch, and then would go to another museum in the afternoon, and then would go to a pub, and then we'd come back to our friend Clive's place, and we'd go to another pub. So, and we laughed so hard for like 2 weeks straight that my stomach actually hurt from all the laughter.
Yeah, I go back with Rob from 1974. I first met him in a party, and somebody said to me, "Come and see this guy, he's Welsh." I said, "I don't want to see Welsh people." I got away from England to see Americans. Anyway, I saw the chap, and we chatted a little bit. I said, "But during the 1974 World Cup," I said, "I'm going to watch at the amphitheatre tomorrow." So I can't do that, I'm working. So I'm watching it in the amphitheatre, and I see this guy on the side there. I think, that's Rob. So it was him. We connected. We watched 2 matches then. We went to watch the Sting at Comiskey Park. Then we came back and watched 2 more matches. We watched 5 matches that day. And our friendship just started then. Yeah, he totally loved soccer.
He always had a sense of humor. He was brilliant. I took over the Wings Club after he had enough and moved on and coached in high school. And that was 1989. I would call him constantly for advice, and he never made me feel bad, even though I asked the same question probably 20 times in a row. He was positive, and he became my biggest mentor, friend. I became friends with their family, to where we had holidays together, and a true friendship with Rob. He'll be missed.
And then we started hanging around together. We had a lot more adventures against each other. Him coaching at Rich East, me coaching at the Bloom High School. We play against each other. I could never beat him. So I could never beat him. Even though maybe I had a better team than him, but he had that. He made the players play over their potential all the time, and he cared. That's one thing about him. And he cared about everybody, no matter who you were, where you come from, the status of how much money you had. Another incident that I remember, he always told everybody, "Hey, before you throw shoes away, bring it to me, because there's people that need shoes." And as a matter of fact, I brought him a lot of shoes because high school kids and stuff like that, so that I knew that throw shoes away, I got it and bring it to him. And he always give it to people that need shoes. So he cared. He cared about everybody.
He did everything for the love of the game, no money involved. And for the guys, he had coaches like myself, also players and good friends. We also did it for the love of the game and for the love of him and respect for him and his father.
As a human being, I don't know if I've ever met somebody finer than him. I had an opportunity in 1983 to play a championship soccer game for Rob as a player, and his dad was coaching the team, Stan Withers, and my father came. That was one of the only adult men's soccer games my dad ever played. And Stan, Rob's dad, and my dad ended up talking about all their World War II experiences, because they actually were in World War II kind of together. So I owe Mr. Withers, Rob, just an amazing debt of gratitude for everything that my teams, or our teams at Rich East, achieved. It was because of him.
Rob was probably the most genuine person that you'd ever want to meet. He was very friendly and outgoing, a life of the party. But at the same time, he was, if you told Rob a story in confidence, it would stay that way, and it would never come back to hurt you if you told it to Rob.
He was a funny man, very funny. So not only did Rob do soccer, but he's a good social person. He had this sort of social circle. We'd meet at the bar every Thursday for years. Clock Tower first and then begin Tattlers. And he was so funny, and he's, you know, his wife is Welsh, his wife is Swiss, and we're sitting in the bar, and he's saying, tonight's my wife's birthday, and she's in Switzerland. So I said, well, did you ring her up and say happy birthday, Marguerite? He says, no. I said, why don't you ring her? He says, they don't speak English in Switzerland. I said, well, surely they understand the word Marguerite. He said, yeah, but they don't understand the word collect.
The impact on soccer in South Suburb, you know, just by him starting this program, the soccer club, the Wings, give opportunities to all the kids in the neighborhoods and around the Park Forest area, South Side, you know, to be able to experience this beautiful game that he loved and we all loved. And so he started the club by not making no money. It was just to bring the kids together, get them off the street, and teach them the game of soccer, a game that is played all over the world. And no matter what size you are, or how much money you have, you can play that game.
You know, being an old school player and him being an old school watcher, he was against cheating. He was never a guy who was going to say, oh yeah, if you're in the penalty box, take a dive. That's cheating to him. And so aside from the soccer aspect, that was the life aspect. We don't want cheaters.
His philosophy of playing the game the right way was you didn't run up the score against an opponent. You didn't intentionally try to hurt a player. If you knocked a player down, you offered your hand to that player and helped them back up and showed sportsmanship. At the end of the game, win or lose, you shook hands. One of my fondest memories in a tough situation was the Super Sectional Championship game in 1997 against Ileana Christian. We scored 4 goals in the first half, hit the bar 5 times, and then ended up losing that game 5-4 in overtime. And the first thing that I did was I walked out on the field and shook every one of the players from Ileana's hand and hugged them and congratulated them and wished them well against Sandburg in the state playoffs. And I did that because of the teachings of Rob.
World Cup '94, it was one of the best things that happened to me in America, you know. Finally, the World Cup, everybody's introduced to the best game in the world. So at the final, before the final, we went to Chicago. We had tickets for the opening ceremony and 5 games in Chicago. And we all got together all the time. And the Wings Club was a big part of that, you know, with their flags and barbecue and tailgating. And we used to get out there before the games, you know, have a few beers, you know, kick the ball around a little bit. And everybody had their own colors, you know. We had German guys, we had a Mexican guy, we had an Italian guy, you know, with the Italian flag and the drum and a big drum. And we used to have fun, you know, before the games. And so we went to the game, and unfortunately, you know, we went to the final. Ely went to the final, but I had a party by my house, and after the party, even though Ely lost, Rob was by me. He goes, "Good game, Vince. It's okay, good game." And so he had a spirit in him. No matter how bad you felt, he made you feel good.
When I took the club from Rob, he gave me the green light to do whatever I wanted. He asked me one thing, and that was to always keep the colors black and gold. Black and gold was Ebervale. That's the town he came from in Wales. So that was the one thing that we always did. That shirt being black and gold, Herb Brooks, the great U.S. hockey player from 1980 when we won the gold medal, always shouted out to his players that the name on the front of your shirt is a hell of a lot more important than the one on your back. And that's what Rob definitely has given to all these kids.
What I used to do when I coached there is every year I made a kind of a brochure and would give it to all the players and all the assistant coaches. And I just happened to bring the one from 1997, and it says, to Coach Withers, "This section gets harder for me to write each season. As our successes continue to grow, I once again realized that none of this would be even remotely possible without you. It is and always will be an honor for me to coach with you. Most coaches can only hope to bring half as much honor to the game that you do. Rob, you know I love you. Thank you very much."
Rob was always pretty disappointed that he didn't have more boys that had played professionally. or made the national team. That he thought that some of his boys were good enough, and he was disappointed that they hadn't gone on and maybe exerted that little extra effort to get there. But I always tried to explain to Rob that he had done so much with the players that he had for develop character, and but it was more important that these kids develop character, and that's what he was good at, than if they ended up playing a year or two of professional soccer.
I'm going to say about Rob, he had a terrific love for life and for sport. He wasn't particularly good at sport at all. In fact, his dad was way better than he was. But he loved the way it was good for kids and stuff. He brought the best out of people, but he never took himself too seriously.
I think Bill has carried on Rob's tradition when he talks to the players about the love of the game, the desire to play well and be a gentleman on the field, to take care of yourself off the field so that you don't put yourself in a position to not get to play for some reason. And I think those are things that that I would say, if somebody said to me, would you like to speak to a Wings team? Those would be the things that I would say, that's the Withers way.
Hurrah!